Hi, I'm Peter,
And I'm Will.
and you're watching Anderson Jazz Jams.
Episode number 2.
This channel is supported by our generous Patreon supporters, and you can donate as little as $1 a month. The link is below.
This week we're going to play a song for you by Ray Noble entitled Cherokee.
This week on Technique Tips, we're going to continue with the chromatic scale because it's very important. Now, the chromatic scale is playing all the notes on your instrument in half steps, first ascending and then descending. Now, this week we want to work on playing our chromatic scale in thirds. This is a great exercise that will help you build your technique while still using the chromatic scale that you had learned previously. And it sounds like this. This week on Improve Your Improv, we're going to build on what we learned last week as far as the 2-5-1s.
So last week we worked on getting comfortable with memorizing and reciting the names of all the 2-5-1 progressions.
D minor 7, G7, and C major.
So now the next step would be being very aware of exactly what these chords are. So if I were to ask my brother Pete to play a D minor 7. So Pete, tell me what is in a D minor 7.
That was a D minor 7 chord, which is basically a major 7 chord, but with a flat third and a flat 7.
Okay, so how about the next?
G7. That's a major chord, but with a flat 7 in it. And of course, the last one, C major 7.
Which is essentially based on the major scale.
These 3 chords make up the 2-5-1 sequence, and they are the most common chords that you'll see. So basically, if you can learn your minor 7, your dominant 7, and your major chord qualities, you've learned about 95% of what you're going to see in jazz tunes. Now there's diminished chords, augmented chords, flat 13, sharp 9, there's a whole host of other ones.
Don't get ahead of yourself.
Things you don't learn in music school. Well, we talk a lot about music on here, but we also want to talk about other things that you need to know to be a working professional.
My brother and I have performed on Broadway, performed for recording sessions for HBO and movies, and something that matters a lot when you're being hired is that you're being hired by a band leader. And you want to show that band leader that you care about the music, that you care about the product, and you care that you're prepared. So the best way you can do that is make sure you show up early.
If you show up any later than a half an hour before the performance, you are definitely late. I mean, imagine all the things you have to do. You have to get out your horn, you have to put on your reed, you might have to pull some charts from the book. The greatest players in New York that we know, that are working all the time, that are famous, that are playing at these festivals, show up early.
And it shows the band leader, it shows the audience, and it also shows all the other musicians that you care about the musical product.
This week on Jazz Hangouts, we're going to talk about some great places you can go to hear jazz.
The Blue Note in New York, which is down in the West Village. I bought this shirt when I came there. And the Blue Note, as many of you know, is one of the greatest jazz clubs. My brother and I are actually going to be playing there on February 24th.
If we have some viewers in the UK, perhaps London, you'd be interested in this, and that's the 100 Club in London. It's going back to the 1940s, and Louis Armstrong, Benny Goodman, Glenn Miller, they all performed at the 100 Club in London, and my brother and I performed there in 2005, which is how old this shirt is, but I've held on to it.
Now we're going to go over to Patreon and make one of our Patreon Plus videos, which we make every week, that can be seen by our Patreon contributors, so we'll be right back. And now we're back, and we're going to do our Gearhead review next, and I'd like to talk a little bit about my Mark VI alto saxophone, and it's from the year 1955. The serial number is 59,000. It's the second year that they made the Mark VI altos, and I bought this at USA Horn in New Jersey, which is a great dealer of vintage saxophones. And I've had it for about 15 years.
Mark VIs are one of the most popular saxophone played today. I play one on tenor, and many of the great professionals still prefer these horns, even though they're making, dozens of new horns. For our lick of the week, we're going to talk about a lick that was played by the great John Coltrane at the end of Giant Steps. And this was played subsequently by Sonny Stitt, and just a ton of other jazz players, and it's a triplet rhythm. So you can learn that at home, learn it by ear, and if you want to send us in a version of you playing that, or really any other question or comment, please send us some videos of you playing. Record in landscape mode. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, click the notification bell, give us a thumbs up, or even leave a comment below.
Thanks so much for tuning into Anderson Jazz Jams, and thanks again to our Patreon supporters who really help support the show, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.